A man standing in the kitchen at 11 o'clock at night, the house dark, his wife already in bed, and he is doing arithmetic on the back of an envelope. Not complicated arithmetic, just division. He has a super balance, he has a number he reckons he needs per year, and he is dividing one into the other to see how long the money lasts. He has done this calculation before, many times. Always late, always alone. And the answer never quite feels like enough, even when the math says it should be. If you have ever stood in your own kitchen doing the same quiet arithmetic, what I'm about to walk you through will change the number in your head. I know a bloke who did exactly this. 63, recently retired from a logistics company where he spent 22 years, built up a decent super balance, around 600,000, mostly in Australian super, and he was quietly proud of that. He had been a consistent saver. When his employer offered salary sacrifice into super, he took it. Never missed a concessional contribution, did everything he was told to do. But when a mate at the RSL mentioned over a beer that you needed at least $2 million in super to retire comfortably, something shifted inside him. He went home that evening, sat at the desk in the study, the room that still had the kids' bookshelves along one wall, opened his latest superannuation statement, picked up the calculator, and tried to work out whether 600,000 could ever produce 100,000 a year in retirement income. The number did not work, not even close. And so he sat there, shoulders dropping, the calculator still glowing, the statement still open, and he felt, for the first time in his life, that everything he had built was not enough. Here is what nobody told him that night. The number his mate threw out, 2 million, was not wrong, exactly. But it was dangerously incomplete. It left out the single largest source of retirement income for most Australians, which is not super at all. It left out the age pension. It left out the tax treatment that applies after 60. It left out the interaction between super income and pension eligibility. And most critically, it left out the fact that 100,000 a year does not all have to come from your super balance. When you hear a number like 2 million repeated often enough, at the bowling club, in financial brochures, on super fund calculators at 2 a.m, your brain accepts it as fact. And once your brain anchors to a number, every calculation you run is measured against it. If your balance falls short, you feel behind. If it falls well short, you feel something closer to shame. That feeling. The quiet, private sense that your retirement savings are not enough is one of the most common experiences among Australians over 60. And in many cases, it is built on a misunderstanding of how the system actually works. Let me show you all the pieces, because when you see them together, the picture looks very different from the one your anxiety built at midnight. Let us start with the target, $100,000 a year. The ASFA Retirement Standard, which is the industry benchmark used by super funds and financial advisors across Australia, estimates that a comfortable retirement lifestyle for a couple costs approximately $93,000 a year. For a single person, roughly $66,000. So $100,000 puts you firmly in the comfortable range for a couple and well above it for a single. That is the target. Now, where does that money come from? Most people assume it all comes from super. That single assumption is what changes everything. For the vast majority of Australians, retirement income arrives from two sources working together: your super drawdown and the age pension. The age pension is not a bonus. It is not charity. It is a core pillar of the system funded by the taxes you paid across a lifetime of work. Under current rates, according to Services Australia, the maximum age pension for a single person is approximately $28,500 a year. For a couple combined, approximately $43,000. That is real money. And for most people, it does a significant share of the heavy lifting. Here is what that actually looks like at your kitchen table. Say you are a couple, both over 67, which is the age pension eligibility age under current rules, owning your home, and you want $100,000 a year. If you qualify for the full age pension, that is roughly $43,000 already covered. Your super only needs to generate the remaining $57,000. At a drawdown rate of 5%, which is the minimum super drawdown rate for someone aged 65 to 74 under current legislation, you would need a super balance of approximately $1,140,000 to produce $57,000 a year. Not $2 million, not $2.5 million. About $1.1 million in an account-based pension. And here is the detail that surprises most people, that $57,000 drawn from super after age 60 is completely tax-free. The Australian Taxation Office confirms this. No income tax on withdrawals from a taxed super fund after the preservation age of 60. The money arrives in your bank account without the tax office taking a cent. Compare that to $57,000 earned from employment, where you would lose thousands at your marginal rate. The tax strategy embedded in the super system is one of the most generous anywhere, and most people do not realise they already qualify. Now, here is the psychology, and it matters. Even when people see this calculation, even when the maths is sitting right there on the page, something inside resists believing it. Your brain has spent years absorbing a different number. 2 million, 1.5 million. Whatever figure you heard at the RSL, or read in the weekend paper, or saw on a super fund calculator during those quiet hours when nobody else was awake. That number became your internal benchmark. And once your brain anchors to a benchmark, every new piece of information gets filtered through it. A financial advisor could walk you through the exact arithmetic, show you the age pension component, show you the tax-free super income, show you the minimum drawdown maths, and part of you would still leave the office thinking, but what if it is not enough? That is not a failure of intelligence. It is anchoring, one of the most powerful patterns in human decision-making. The first number you absorb becomes the reference point, and everything after is judged against it. If your anchor is 2 million and your balance is 700,000, you feel 1,000,003 short, even when the real gap after the age, pension and tax benefits is dramatically smaller. But there is a wrinkle, and it is one that matters. Your super income affects your age pension. Both the income test and the assets test apply. Under current Centrelink rules, the assets test threshold for a homeowner couple allows a full pension up to approximately $451,000 in countable assets. Above that, the pension reduces by $3 per fortnight for every $1,000 over the threshold. And your financial assets, including your super, are assessed under the deeming rates, where Centrelink assumes a rate of return regardless of what you actually earn. The current deeming rate is 0.25% on roughly the first 60,000 and 2.25% above that. So a super balance of 1.1 million would reduce your age pension. You would not receive the full amount, but you would very likely still receive a part pension. And that part pension comes with the pensioner concession card. Cheaper prescriptions at Chemist Warehouse, bulk billing, priority, utility discounts, transport concessions. The real household value of that card is worth thousands per year, and it never appears on any retirement calculator. Your financial security in retirement is not just about the dollar figure in your super, it is about the entire system of support that wraps around it. So here is what you can do with this. First, find your actual super balance. Log into your super fund, Australian Super, Aware Super, Rest, Colonial First State, Uni Super, whichever fund holds your money, and look at your total balance today. Not projected, not estimated, actual. Write it down. Second, estimate your age pension entitlement. Services Australia has an online payment estimator. Search Age Pension Estimator on the Services Australia website, where you enter your assets and income, and it shows what you would receive. Even a part pension changes the arithmetic dramatically, because it means your super does not have to carry the full weight alone. Third, calculate the gap. Take your income target, subtract your estimated pension, and divide the remainder by the minimum drawdown rate for your age bracket. 5% between 65 and 74, 6% from 75 to 79, 7% from 80 onwards. The result is the super balance you need to fill the gap. For many people, this number will be significantly lower than the anchor that has been quietly running their retirement planning for years. And here is the permission that comes with seeing it clearly. You're allowed to feel relief. If the number is lower than you feared, you do not need to immediately find something new to worry about. After years of midnight arithmetic, the habit of financial anxiety runs deep. The moment someone shows you the picture might be better than you thought, your brain looks for the catch. Sit with the number. Check it twice, but allow the possibility that your position is stronger than your worry has been telling you. Fourth, talk to a qualified financial advisor if you can, not because you cannot do this yourself, but because a good advisor can model the interaction between your super drawdown strategy, your pension income stream, your deeming rate exposure, and your estate planning in a way no single calculator can. If you carry some distrust of the advice industry, and after the Royal Commission that distrust is rational, look for a fee-for-service advisor who charges a flat fee, not commissions. Or start with your own super fund, where financial advice for members is often available at minimal cost for straightforward questions about retirement income and pension eligibility. There is a deeper pattern beneath everything we have covered today. The way a single number, absorbed years ago from a conversation you barely remember, can quietly shape every financial decision you make in retirement. That pattern connects to something we explore often. The gap between what your anxiety tells you and what the system, when you finally see it laid out plainly, actually provides. Making your super last in retirement starts not with a strategy, but with seeing the real number clearly, perhaps for the first time. If this shifted the arithmetic even slightly, you might want to stay, because there is a lot more to untangle about how super drawdown strategy and age pension eligibility work together, and it gets clearer from here. I am curious. Have you ever run the numbers late at night alone, on the back of an envelope or a calculator screen? And did the answer leave you feeling better or worse? Tell me about it. 2359 13 07 2026.